Hey, welcome back, class. We're on section 8. This is part 2. Uh, Now we're going to talk about the War of 1812. A lot of people refer to this as the Second War of Independence. Again, I'm always referring back to the PowerPoint, guys. When you see me looking off, I'm looking at the PowerPoint, and I always mention that because you really need to view your PowerPoint. It's very important. So let's talk about the War of 1812. It is June the 1st, 1812. President James Madison will recommend a declaration of war. June the 4th, the House of Representatives passes it. June the 18th, Senate passes the bill, and we go to war. Now, the War of 1812, it's a very short affair. It will be the last time the United States is ever invaded on the main continent by a foreign power. That's a good quiz question. It's the War of 1812 is the last time the United States will be invaded onto our main continent by another power. It will be England. England will come over here, guys. And there's just a couple of small events that occur in this war. But I say they're small. They're pretty dramatic to the people that live through them. August the 24th, 1814, a general named Ross, General Ross, will burn the Capitol. Yes, our Capitol was burned. September the 14th, 1814, a guy named Francis Scott Key will write a very important song. The Star Spangled Banner is written by him. And as he writes this, he is off of a ship and he's watching them burn, and he writes this, okay? The biggest battle of this will be January the 8th, 1815, in the Battle of New Orleans. We'll speak a little bit about that. Again, we talked about Robert Ross, and I think if you take my test question, I think I play around with his name. I think I say his name is Ross Robert and then Robert Ross. The guy's name is Robert Ross. He is a British general that will come over here, and he burns our capital during this. Remember, we talked about that famous song that was written. They're bombarding Baltimore Harbor. It's September the 13th and the 14th of 1814, and Francis Scott Key is on this warship, and he is watching what's going on. And if you listen to the song, by the dawn's early light, we saw that the Star Spangled Banner yet waved at the fort. So that's what he's writing about, and I apologize for my mispronunciation on that word. We're going to end this, guys, with the Battle of New Orleans. And being the guy from Louisiana, that's something that if you ever took Louisiana history, you really study a lot. And we're going to talk about the guy that steps on the front on the pages of history. His name is Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson is a general. Now, Andrew Jackson's going to be one of our presidents, and he'll be one of our more controversial presidents. But at this point in history, guys, Andrew Jackson is a general. He leads a group of Tennessee and Kentucky sharpshooters. These guys are professional Indian fighters. They've been down into Florida. They will send their outfit down into New Orleans to meet the British. Now, the interesting thing I always like to put about Jackson, guys, is we're going to study this other guy in history. We're coming up on him really quick. He served under Jackson. That's Sam Houston. Sam Houston served under Andrew Jackson. Sam Houston really thought a lot of Jackson, and will use a lot of the military tactics that Jackson taught them. Houston will use. So let's get back to the Battle of New Orleans, and we'll try to make it really quick. They come down in there. It's Jackson's and his sharpshooters. They meet with a pirate, Jean Lafitte, and they will meet in the French Quarter in a bar, which is kind of interesting. This famous general and this famous pirate will meet. Now, if you ever go to the French Quarter, and I'm sure some of you later on will in life, that little bar, there is still a historical marker, and you can find it, and it is the meeting place between Jackson and Lafitte. So why did Jackson need Lafitte? Lafitte was a very accomplished pirate. Lafitte knew all the ways to get in and out of the harbors down in New Orleans, and Jackson and Lafitte had two things in common. They both hated the British. Jackson hated them because when he was a small boy or a teenager, I guess you'd say. He was captured by the British during the American Revolution. A guy named Tarkington. Remember the movie The Patriot? I told you guys that general was based on a real guy. Jackson carried a scar his entire life because when he was about 14 or 15, Tarkington captures him, brings Jackson in. He's this young patriot. Tarkington tells him, "You're going to shine my boots." And Jackson's like, "No, I'm not shining your boots." And Tarkington beat him severely, leaving him with a scar, also leaving him hating the British for the rest of his life. Now, what's going to happen? You'll have Jackson, you'll have the pirates under Lafitte, you'll have all these Creoles. They're going to come down there and they will wait for the British to land. When the British land, it is a total victory. I've got a lot of these numbers up here. I mean, I think the British had 2,034 casualties. 291 of those were officers. The British had wounded 1,262 wounded. They captured 484. The Americans had only, they had 71 casualties, 13 deaths, 39 wounded, 19 missing. So obviously this is a big time victory for the United States. The only thing I always like to point out about this is this battle was fought. Remember we talked about when it was fought in January. They had actually signed the peace treaty to end the war before the battle. The Treaty of Ghent, which is G-H-E-N-T, that's good quiz. That'd be a good quiz question for this, was signed December the 24th, 1814, and it officially ended that war, and the Battle of New Orleans will occur after that. It's a big historical debate. Historians still talk about is, did the battle really matter? I will leave you with this thought. I think it did. I think if the British had won that, and the British knew exactly what they were doing, guys. If the British had won that battle, I do believe they would have come back, tore their treaty up, and we'd have been back at war with them. So that was the Battle of New Orleans. I hope you've enjoyed that. And when we return, we'll get with part 3 of this session. We'll see you then, class.